things that I was just thinking 2 weeks ago. It says, don't forget the grains of sand that hold their secrets. They know exactly why they are here. Without the words they don't need or have. They see it clear without eyes to steer themselves in the rubble. No sense of nerves, but a vibrant consciousness that happens without fear. Stay near to the point of nature's joint.
Lastly, just remember to be kind to yourself because you're a human being. I have taken a long time to learn that, and you're never going to be perfect and you're never going to feel great all the time. And honestly, you're not supposed to feel great all the time. Hello everybody, I hope everyone is having a pretty good day today. I wanted to make a video that was a bit more kind of personal and hopefully resourceful to someone that watches this, about how to navigate when you feel like you potentially could be spiraling. And when I say that, everyone's definition of a downward spiral is going to be different obviously, and everything that you're able to feel is valid. So last week I had a week that lasted, well, it wasn't a full week. It was probably 5 or 6 days of really not feeling good at all. And I've kind of gotten to this point where I will observe my trends, and I've realized that I'm someone who experiences like these really euphoric highs, and I will like have them for, I don't know, it'll be a week, it'll be a little more than a week, and then I'll get to the point where I essentially can't sustain it because I'm not supposed to sustain being euphoric all the time, and then I'll crash and I'll get really anxious or depressed, or like I'll be feeling very negative about something. So anyways, rather than falling back into the lows after doing it several times, I've told myself like, let's like play on the defensive side and let's see what we can do to not necessarily fall victim to these, but just ride it out. Like if we're gonna have a low, let's just ride it out instead of making it the worst possible, because I'm gonna use my personal experiences all throughout this video. So if this doesn't work for you, then I totally respect that. And also if you can't relate to anything I'm saying, I also totally respect that. But what I was gonna say is I'm someone who is very all or nothing. Like my personality is very intense. Like either I'm doing great and everything's great, or I'm doing terrible and everything's terrible. And I've always been that way. Literally, even with like kind of how I view my day, it's either a very productive day or it's a crap day. And I've realized like that's not a good way to go about life, because life's not always going to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, then you don't want it to necessarily be terrible either. So anyways, yeah, I've journaled a bit, so I'm gonna be looking down at this throughout the video. But yeah, I wrote like, you know, just observe your thoughts and don't necessarily act on them. And some people may be like rolling their eyes at this video like, listen, like if I'm having a bad day, I'm having a bad day. I get that. I have those too, but you don't always have to hop on the horse and ride it out of town, if you know what I'm saying. You can just be like, hey, I see you're there, but I'm gonna chill right here. So anyways, and I kind of have them in steps of what I did throughout the week to essentially see if I could not hop on the horse, if that makes sense. So the first thing is trace back when you started feeling crappy. Like look at the source, like figure out, is it an interaction that I had with someone that triggered me, that made me feel upset? Is it something I saw on social media that made me feel upset? Was it, like, did I like look at myself in the mirror one day and thought I looked terrible, and that like is an underlying trigger of why I'm feeling bad? Was I not productive enough? Like see if you can trace it back and figure out just what it is, because maybe you can cut out like the source right away and then just avoid, you know, feeling bad about the whole thing, because it's not always necessary either. And then after that, assess your body's needs. Like, is my body not getting something that I haven't, you know, been fulfilling its needs in that way? Like how's your sleep been? How have you been eating? For me, I eat very healthy, And I can tell when I have not been eating healthy, like rather quickly too, like within a day. And people will ask me sometimes, like, I don't, like, they'll be like, people have made comments that say, like, I don't know how you do that all the time. And like, as in eating healthy, and I just want to respond and be like, I don't know how you don't do that, because my body is fucking begging me to eat healthy. So yeah, just assess your body's needs and then slow down, relax, like do something to slow your mind. So like our nervous systems, we have the parasympathetic nervous system and then we have the sympathetic nervous system. So the parasympathetic nervous system is associated with like the rest state, and then the sympathetic is associated with fight or flight. So like, I'm gonna ask you this question right now. Have you ever been just thinking about something? Not even the action has happened, but you just think about it and you get so stressed that you literally, like, your body starts to have a physical response. Like you'll sweat, or like you won't be able to sleep. Because I know for me, I've stressed myself out sometimes to the extent to where I can literally be in my car thinking about something and I will literally start sweating. And it's like, that action hasn't even happened. And it doesn't even have to happen. But just thinking about it can stress me out that bad. So like, sometimes with anxiety, sometimes your body doesn't know the difference between what's actually happened and what your mind is conceiving might happen. So just like really slow down your mind. Like whatever you have to do that, whether it's laying on the couch, laying in bed, taking deep breaths. Like there's different types of breathing exercises. I've practiced a couple of them, but what seems to work good for me is just like, I'll take a breath and I'll like hold it there for a second and I'll like kind of feel it get to that deep part inside of me when I feel it expand, and then I'll release, and I'll do a couple of those. So little fun fact, I used to have trouble with binge eating. I still have trouble with binge eating. I've done it for like 9-10 years of my life. And earlier this summer, I had to literally get to a point to where before I would eat, so I could slow down, because I was going through life way too fast, I would literally have to like take deep breaths and slow my body down, slow everything down, and then I would allow myself to eat, because I was going way too fast. And going way too fast is not always a good thing. Not always a good thing. So yeah, relax your mind. Because sometimes when I'm feeling a negative thought, rather than just being like, is that necessary to actually have these thoughts, I will just immediately start the panic. Like, cue the panic. We're gonna just make it worse now. You don't always have to do that. So anyways, change your environment. Get outside or don't get stuck. When I say that, I mean don't get stuck in your head. So like, let's just say I've been in my apartment since I woke up at 7 in the morning and it's now 1 o'clock. I've been having negative thoughts ever since I woke up. Try to see if you can go out and go on a walk or drive, or even go on a drive. Because sometimes I feel like, this is just a personal thing, that my thoughts start to form a box around me. Like, and then the apartment becomes the box. So it's like, when I'm in the apartment, those are the thoughts that I feel. So like, when I am like, I don't feel good, like not feeling good, feeling really flighty today, like thoughts are not good, I'll go outside, or I'll go on a bike ride, or I'll go on a drive. I don't care where I'm driving. I'm not driving anywhere. I'm just trying to like let the thoughts exit the box, if that makes sense. And then another thing that like, for just kind of slowing down, I've realized for me that if I lay on my couch and I'm like, okay, I need to watch TV. Like, Molly needs to watch TV, Molly needs to relax. If I'm just laying there, I feel like I can't get comfortable, but if I put something over my body to where I'm like, now laying down, like for example, a blanket, it's not even a weighted blanket. That's like my cue that my brain gets of like, oh, she's now locked into the couch. So like, we're gonna relax now. I don't know what it is, but that blanket, like I'm like looking at my couch right now, it is literally like the cue of, we're in relax mode. The blanket is over you. And it doesn't even have to be over your whole body, but sometimes I'll just put it over my upper body, and it just, there's something about the sensation of it being there that like literally tells my brain like, it's time to relax now. So if you have trouble relaxing, like me, give that a shot. And maybe you can build that association up. I think that's what I've done. Ironically, I was talking about it with my therapist months back. And I was like, yeah, like, you know, I'll just lay down and I'll put a blanket over me. And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, that's actually a proven thing that, like, you know, like having something over you helps. So give that a shot if you want. And then also, I've broken these down into categories, but consumption. So there's different ways that you can describe consumption. There's actually what you're eating in terms of consumption, what you're consuming in terms of the media that you're watching or that you're interacting with, what you're consuming in terms of your conversations that you're having with yourself and with your friends or people who are not your friends, and then also what you're not consuming that you need to be consuming. So this is a huge one, and this isn't necessarily as much associated with when you're already feeling bad, but this is more preventative. Like, so let's just say for me, because this is all about personally, I am very, the subject of how I feel about my body can be a touchy subject for me. Not between me and someone else, but between me and myself. So like, eating healthy all the time is very important to me. If I'm not eating healthy all the time, that's not good. And I don't mean that in an obsessive way. Like, I have balance now, but like, I just know I need to be eating healthy because I need to be feeling good. Because if I'm not feeling good, then I'm not okay. So anyways, so like, if you are feeling like crap, take a look at what you've eaten that day, that week, the last few days. Take a look at what you've been drinking. Like, have you been drinking a lot of alcohol? Have you been drinking a lot of pop? Have you had water today? Have you drank any water? So all throughout this week of me feeling like crap, normally when I get negative thoughts, if I'm going to act on them, my coping skill is, my skill that's not a good skill is I will binge eat. Like, and I remember telling myself, like, this week, I'm like, it's not necessary to binge eat. I'm like, it's just not productive. Like, it's not productive. What is it going to get you? You're going to be in immense pain. You're going to eat way too much. You're going to feel immense guilt. And I'm like, let's just not do that. Like, it's not necessary. But like, sometimes when you're feeling bad, you need a cupcake or something. So I'm like, okay, it's fall. I'm like, you know, I could treat myself a little. So I go to Starbucks and I just get a coffee and the pumpkin loaf. So if you are a binge eater, the pumpkin loaf as a treat versus 4,000 calories that you would have potentially eaten that day via foods that you actually don't like is actually the better choice as the pumpkin muffin. You feel what I'm saying? Like figure out your, like, look at your potential destruction that you could do and see if you can come to a compromise. Because sometimes, like, I'm gonna be honest, we're human beings and sometimes we're not gonna be perfect, ever, literally ever. So like, be like, what can I do to compromise this? Like, binging, I don't think I should do that right now, but like, I feel like I need something to essentially, you know, treat myself. Meet in the middle somewhere. Like, you don't have to do the full spiel. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense? And when I say that, please understand that I'm not saying like, hey, you should go and do this destructive behavior. Like, what I'm saying is, if you feel like there's no chance that you can get out of it, come to a compromise. Give a little bit, but don't give in everything. You get what I'm saying? Fight it back. Like, fight it back. So, yes, that's like my take on the food thing. Food is fuel for our bodies. So, if you're not feeling good, check the fuel that you've been putting in the car, if that makes sense. And then consumption with media. I take social media breaks a lot. Like, I like this. I like interacting on here. I really, you know, I enjoy Instagram. I enjoy creating content, taking photos, all that. But sometimes it becomes too much and you've got to take a break. And also sometimes you're, you know, following pages that you don't realize they're not good for you. They're not good for you. They're making you feel shitty about yourself. So check your media consumption. And also, like, if you've had, you know, you felt bad all day long, it's probably not a great idea to come home and watch a sad movie. Or maybe, you know, if that's really what you want to do, then that's fine. But like, when I was when I was feeling bad and it was coming up on like the 4th day of me feeling crappy, I was like, I can't sit in here and just watch TV. So instead I'm like, I need to consume something that's like somewhat stimulating for myself. So I went to the art museum, and I wasn't, you know, it wasn't the best day, but I knew that that was good for me, because I'm like, I'm consuming something that's somewhat stimulating to me, and it's inspiring me a little bit. And so yeah, go somewhere where you can consume something like, you know, music that you like, anything that's going to make you feel better. Anyways, yes. And then also conversations that you're having with your friends or people in your life. This is a huge one. Like, sometimes your friends aren't like fueling you in the best way. And you just gotta like learn about yourself, set those boundaries, figure out like what's good for you, what's not good for you. And then also lastly, assess like what you are not consuming that you need. So it could be any of those things. It could be, I haven't been fueling myself, or I need to have better, more fulfilling conversations with my friends, anything like that really. And then I also wrote, do something to take your focus off of that negative headspace. So normally one of the first things I'll do is I'll try to clean my place, or like, even, this is something strange that I've realized, but like if I start watering my plants, there's something weird that happens when I do that, to where like the focus now becomes about the plant and how the plant's doing and not how I'm doing. So I'm like, I'm watering it, and that is giving me like positive association with like, this plant is being taken care of. And it's in a weird way, I know this sounds crazy, but like it's really like, it's a good feeling of like the plant is doing good, so like let's do good also. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm telling you, I literally wrote it down because I experienced it when I started watering my plants. I was like, wow, I feel like a lot better. I think it's just because there's like progress associated with it, and it's positive, and it's like, yes, this is a good thing, like it's going in a good direction. Because I also have an issue with like my productivity. If it's not great all the time, I feel really guilty. Yeah, water your plants, even washing your dishes, and I drew an arrow saying positive association, like there's progress being made. You've cleaned your space, you've washed your dishes, you've taken a shower, you've brushed your hair, any of that stuff. I know it's all small things, but like, I'll be honest right now, when you're experiencing a low, and I know if you're sitting right here on your couch watching this video right now, there's probably been times where you felt so bad that you like will just stop taking care of yourself. Like, you'll stop brushing your hair. I mean, you'll stop taking a shower. You just feel so, you know, low. You feel so depressed. So I know it's hard, and I know it's hard when you feel that way, but go take a shower, brush your hair. You know, if you're a girl or if you're a guy, put on a little bit of makeup. Like, just do something has progress associated with it, because it immensely helps me. I know that immensely helps me. Even also for taking your mind off of things, if you could go shopping. Go shopping. Sometimes, you know, like I said, meeting in the middle. You know, like I could binge eat, or I could go shopping and I could buy a new shirt and spend, you know, 30, 40, 50 bucks. I'm gonna choose buying the shirt rather than binge eating for what could potentially be a week straight. If that's something that can take my mind off of it, I'm gonna do that. Or like, you know, visit a friend, or go to someone's house that, you know, just being in their space, or go to a coffee shop. Being in that space can like get you out of your mind. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, I wrote here as a note, it's hard for me to stay in a negative headspace when I've done something that I would deem positive. Because then I'm like, oh. And also, even like making a healthy meal and eating a healthy meal, I'm feeling like, okay, I woke up today, and today feels like a day that I might be potentially prone to like binging. I will right away make something very healthy for myself, because it's hard for me to cross back over onto the negative side of things if I've already done something positive. Like I said, I'm all or nothing. So I'm like, okay, let's not do that. Let's do something positive. So then I'm like, well, I've already eaten healthy, so I shouldn't, you know, go trash my day. Again, this is all personal stuff. If this is not connecting with you, that's totally fine, but this is just kind of how I think. And yeah, and then lastly I wrote, you know, lastly, just remember to be kind to yourself because you're a human being. I have taken a long time to learn that, and you're never going to be perfect and you're never going to feel great all the time. And honestly, you're not supposed to feel great all the time. Like, typically when I have my low phases, as I'm coming out of them and I'm starting to feel better, I always realize I take something away that's very important. Like, I take away something I've learned, and you know, they're necessary. But I think where the danger is rather than, you know, just writing them out, sometimes we will make them worse because we don't know how to navigate them, which is what I've done, which is why I made this video. Because like I said, it's not always necessary to smash it till it breaks. If it has a little scratch on it, it's okay. It has a little scratch. You don't have to smash it till it breaks. It doesn't have to be perfect. So yeah, you know, we put immense pressure on ourselves at times, and feeling off is natural. Everyone's gonna feel off. So yeah, anyways, I really hope that this made somewhat sense, because I'm no professional, I can tell you that. But I can tell you one thing. I've had my fair share of feeling ups and downs, and they become exhausting, you know, like, and you don't have to always fall into them as hard as I've fallen into them. So yeah. After saying all of that, if you've tried literally every single one of these things and you're still feeling bad, like, let me just tell you, dang it, we did our best. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's kind of what this last week was for me. Was I remember like being like, okay, I'll try this. Okay, that doesn't work. Okay, I'll try this. That doesn't work. And I'm like, I'm just gonna wait it out until I feel better. But then I also remembered, like, you know, I remember waking up on like the 5th day and being like, man, I'm still feeling like really like a lot of darkness inside of me. And then I remembered to myself, like, also, like, you gotta be kind to yourself, but at some point, you've got to just get moving. Like, you've got to get moving. Like, I was like, I do not want to go to the gym, and I had like took a couple rest days, and I'm like, I still don't want to go to the gym, and I'm like, no one's gonna hand you your motivation. Like, it's not something that's gonna be handed over at all. So find that balance of like giving yourself some grace, and then also knowing when it's time to get your butt moving in the kindest way. Get your butt moving, because your body deserves it. Your mind deserves it. You deserve everything you want, but you gotta get your butt moving. And you gotta be kind to yourself. Both things. There is a balance between the two. So yeah, that's all I had to say. If anybody has any questions, or there's something that I didn't explain properly, please reach out to me on Instagram or on here. I'm not really active on checking YouTube notifications, but I am active on Instagram. So yes.
I can feel my body turning. You are my love.